This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich here on a Football Friday. Paulie Howard with the day off. I'm in beautiful downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Mike is in what I'm guessing is gloomy, overcast, windy, cold Santa Barbara, California today on a Friday afternoon. Or am I dead wrong with that assumption?
No, it's disgusting here.
It
is a frigid 62 degrees. The sun is barely poking through the half of a cloud that is up in the sky. It's a rough day here in Santa Barbara.
Yeah. Stay away is what you're telling everybody. Stay far,
Yeah, not good. Weather's
away.
terrible here.
We do have a very fun 3-hour program lined up today. On the show, John Accorsi is going to join us in 1 hour. John is the gentleman who last week going into Circus Survivor had 4 entries left and he could only use dogs. That's the way he planned it out from what I'm told. And they all got there. So I can't wait to talk to him coming up at that time to see if that's exactly how he planned it out this year. Drew Butler, former kicker in the NFL and with the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll talk SEC title game with him and championship game weekend, which starts tonight. Julian Edlow, DraftKings, coming up in studio a little bit later on as well. So, Mike, let's begin with what took place last night in the National Football League. And I'll raise my hand. It was a bloodbath. It was not pretty. The Dallas Cowboys, it was the second biggest bet, all told, on one game that I had this year in the NFL. And it was not good. The 3.5 on the money line as well. I have a lot of questions I want to throw at you from last night, but your observations from watching that mess from Dallas, and a good job by the Detroit Lions by taking care of business.
Yeah, it was. I was a Cowboys backer as well. I had them plus 3.5. I had them on the money line too. So it wasn't a fun game for me to be able to watch. This was a coin flip masquerading around as a blowout, though. I still believe when you look at everything that went wrong for Dallas and the fact it was still a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, these two teams are relatively close. Mm-hmm. I feel a little bamboozled. I bought into this Cowboys defense being better.
Yep.
And the intrusive thought that came into my mind is maybe Kansas City just stinks on offense, and that's why the Cowboys defense was good last week. And so I'm kind of wondering how this shifts my thoughts on the Houston-Kansas City game as well. But this was a Cowboys team that just made mistakes that we had not seen them make. They lose the turnover battle 3-0. They have an opportunity to score going into the half and coming out of the half. They end up giving up a field goal going into the half because they couldn't retain possession and then turning the football over immediately out of the half. Everything came up roses here. You lose. Amon-Ra St. Brown looked better when he was hurt this week than he did healthy last week, and then you lose CeeDee Lamb midway through the game. It was a brutal watch as a Cowboys bettor because it felt everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong in game.
Oh, it was having a bet on the Cowboys last night was not having a bet on Dallas in recent form. That was a bet on the Cowboys from earlier in the year. Sloppy, Don't know what you're going to get from Dak, but I guess you can do that. He did that same thing against the Chiefs, started off the game. Here you go. Here's an INT. And go down and score easily, but the defense was terrible last night, and so that was not good. Like, had I known the team was going to resort back to what they were like in September and October, clearly I would not have been making those bets last night. But I have a lot of questions that I want to throw at you from the game as well. First of all, what was that from George Pickens overall the entire game, and that effort when it was 44-30 and you know Pickens was going to him deep down the field? Where was the effort, man? And I follow a bunch of like Pittsburgh media, and they were all just completely, they could not wait to mock him last night. But the narrative was this. Every Steeler fan watching the game last night had a good chuckle knowing that George Pickens was going to show up at some point this year, and it did last night. Also, the Cowboys on 4th and 4 at the Detroit 37-yard line before halftime. Now, they're not getting stops at this point, Mike. You settled for a field goal at that point, thinking, okay, we're going to get the ball back at halftime. All we have to do here is slow down Detroit, not let them get any points. But you brought this up earlier. You left Detroit way too much time with that field goal that you put on the board to make it 17-9 rather than going for it. I didn't know about that decision. And then later on in the game, much later, when Detroit is leading 37-27, this is after Gibbs rushed in a second touchdown of the game. Dallas takes over on offense, 7+ minutes to go in the game. Eventually, Mike, they have a 1st and 10 at the line's 18. There's 3:58 on the clock. That turns into a 4th and 3, and they're at the Detroit 11. Again, down by 10, Now, this is a person talking here who, again, had Dallas +3 and +3.5. I get it. At some point, you're going to need a field goal. But let me throw this at you. You're that far into Detroit territory, and it's a 4th and 3 at the 11-yard line. Why would you not go for it there, knowing that you're probably not going to get a stop on defense because you haven't gotten a stop pretty much the entire game when it mattered most? And I guess I can say this because I can't prove it, but I would bet on this. I think Aubrey was good from 70 last night. So why take the chip shot right there rather than go for the touchdown? But again, maybe I'm a little bit biased because I had Dallas in pocket.
No, you hit the nail on the head there. It is a literal, it's asinine to think that you were going to stop Detroit's offense and be able to get the football back without giving up at least a field goal in that situation. So the latter field goal that Dallas took there when they had 4th and 3 inside the Detroit 20 made absolutely no sense. You need to score a touchdown there, cut the game down to 3, and hope that you hold them to just a field goal so you can get the ball back and possibly win with the touchdown. If you are fortunate enough to be able to hold them to nothing and you get the football back down 3, your point is dead accurate. Let's say you get the ball back with 25 seconds. You have 1 or 2 plays you can run. You don't need to go very far to get into Brandon Aubrey field goal range. If you need a touchdown in that spot, you've got to go down the entire length of the field. You end up having to throw a Hail Mary at some point. It is just an absolute mess of a situation, a terrible job on the coaching end there to make that decision. Going into half, I don't mind that field goal as much. Your liability there is really just giving up a field goal. It's highly unlikely Detroit comes down and scores a touchdown. I wouldn't have minded going for it either, because I do think your huge advantage at the end of that first half, start of the second half, was be able to double up on Detroit. And by leaving 50-plus seconds on the clock, you were not able to do that. But the later field goal was an atrocious decision. You had to go try and score a touchdown there. You had to get 7. You had to cut that to 3 because the idea that you're definitely getting a stop is just crazy in my mind. And the fact that Aubrey can kick it from anywhere makes it much more likely you're able to win or tie the game if it's a 3-point game and there's sub 30 seconds left on the clock. The George Pickens thing was wildly infuriating. I understand why everybody at Pittsburgh is kind of taking their victory lap. I know this is always in him. How does it come out in this game? Why was it this game that he got triggered back into this? He is playing for a contract. People are talking about getting him huge money. You lose CeeDee Lamb in game, and this is the spot you decide not to try. The deep ball where it falls 1.5 yards next to him, and he doesn't even try. He just kind of jogs by it. The speed of the comeback routes where he doesn't even break into a sprint and then just kind of lollygags and turns around. It was pathetic to watch Pickens play it last night. And I can't imagine if you were Prescott, if you were the Cowboys, after seeing that firsthand, you were excited to pay that man.
Oh, that's a great point. I was absolutely disgusted too. How do you do that as a pro? You've had such a great season, by the way, and you're turning this into a monstrous contract. And yet that's how you go out there and put on a game in front of, it's on national TV, huge ratings. You got to have it kind of game to get in the playoffs. And that's the effort. Are you serious with that, man? Come on. That was terrible. And so can we start to, not even start, but are we burying the Cowboys after last night's loss? Or do you still think that? Go ahead.
If they win out, they do have a path to make the playoffs. It is a very, very tiny path now, though, right? The last night's game was huge for them. They needed to get that win. They needed to try and get to 11. There still is a world where they can win the division. And to me, that is their path into the playoff series. They need the Eagles to come back to them. They need to end up winning 10 games, the Eagles. So they go 2-3 over the last 5 games here. And you sit in a situation where the Cowboys with 10 wins, they're 10-6-1. They get in over a 10-7 Eagles team. It's unlikely Dallas can get in with 10 wins and get a wild card. It looks like it's going to take 11, especially with the Lions getting that win last night. That bolsters them up, and now they're losing the tiebreaker to the Lions as well. It feels like it's the division or nothing for Dallas now.
Yeah, I would agree. So their remaining schedule here, the look-ahead line had Dallas 7.5 against the Vikings next week. They should win that game. My God, Minnesota's quarterback situation is as bad as I've ever seen. They also host the Chargers. They're at Washington. And at the Giants, in theory, there is a path, obviously, where they could win all those games. Now, as for the Lions overall, at 8-5 and behind the 49ers right now, 3 road games left. At the Rams, and LA was 4.5 on the look ahead. Steelers at home, they should do whatever they want offensively. I want to say at the Vikings should be a win, but somehow this team already lost to J.J. McCarthy. At the Bears, I know they killed him earlier in the season. Bears are playing much better football. And there is this, Brian Branch now with the torn Achilles out for the rest of the year. Huge break. Awful break for the Detroit Lions on defense. Another guy going down here, Mike.
Yeah, one of their most important pieces of the secondary. And we can't forget that Bears game on the road. That's going to be a cold weather Jared Goff game. And we've seen enough of a sample size that cold weather Jared Goff does not end well for this Detroit Lions team. So I almost mark that one as an L. And the question is, can you win the next 3 to get to 11? Because that is most likely what it's going to take to be able to make the playoffs here. And that Rams game becomes one that is a very important game for both teams, because the Rams have Seattle the following week, and they lost any margin of error when they lost to Carolina last week. So this is just, to me, a very fascinating playoff run, because it is going to take 11 games, maybe 10 in a tiebreaker to make the playoffs in both conferences. So there is zero room for error for a lot of these teams.
Yep. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich. And for those of you who have not joined VSiN Pro yet, we have extended our Black Friday special for one final week for $60. That's it. Here's what you're going to get. All of the access through May 1st. That includes daily best bets from our hosts and guests, real-time betting splits from DraftKings, Circa, and Bracco, and AI prop tools. Everybody's been talking about the 24/7 video access on the VSiN Watch app, plus full coverage on every major sport now through March Madness, the NFL Draft, and the Masters. And with our college football playoffs betting guide dropping next week, the timing could not be better. The Black Friday special ends next after Sunday. Don't miss out. Go to vsin.com/subscribe to sign up now. That's vsin.com/subscribe. Up next, there is an angle this weekend that is 35-10 ATS since Christmas 2016. Find out next.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Thanks for checking in here on a Football Friday. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich. He is in for Paulie Howard out for the day. I am in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Mike is in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. Busy hour coming up. There is a brutal schedule spot in the NHL this weekend. Mike loves betting the NHL. I want to run that by him. We'll talk SEC title game and conference title weekend with Drew Butler, who is a former Georgia Bulldog, coming up in a half an hour, and more in the NFL. But right now, I've been waiting for this conversation. I was hoping that this gentleman would come on the show for like 2 or 3 weeks as John Accorsi joins the program, and he is on the Progressive guest line. He owns 4 entries out of the remaining, 45 that we have in Circa Survivor. His entry name is called Accorsi, but this is a fascinating story with an incredible path that we can't wait to discuss. John, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you guys?
Doing really well. So let's start. Have you been playing Survivor pretty much your entire life, and have you played Circa Survivor since year 1?
Both kind of. I'd say I played it occasionally throughout the years, but since the inaugural year in Circa, I have. You
have. And then do you get the full allotment of entries, 10 per person that is allowed here by the book?
The first year I did 2, and then I believe there was maybe 6 was the max at one point. Mm-hmm. And then from there on out, I did the max.
Now, John, you mentioned when we were at the break here, this isn't your first deep run in Circa Survivor. Tell us a little about your history here in Circa and how deep you have made it in the past.
So the first year, I had 2. I lost one on the first week, and then the other one, I was the last group knocked out. I believe there was 35 that made it to the end, and I think all those people won the last week. So there was 7 that got knocked out. I don't know if it was week 17, and I was one of them. So the top 42. And then there was another year, I think I got knocked out somewhere when there was like maybe 20-something people. That was the year I was one of the 4 on the Raiders against the Cowboys.
Wow. So you make deep runs here on an annual basis. Are you Are you the only person on the entry? Do you have a partner or partners to discuss this with?
Well, no, I'm the only one in control of all the decisions, but I own about 2/3 to 3/4 of the entries, and I usually just have friends and family. They all buy in for 1%, 2% or whatever, and everybody enjoys the ride, and they're very supportive. I make all the decisions, and they're fine with whatever I do, and if we lose, we lose. If we win, we win.
Now, I'm sure if this was friends and family that your Thanksgiving became a lot more interesting, because that's really where this story gets interesting. You had 4 entries left, and you decided to go on 4 dogs. Was that the plan heading into that Thanksgiving week? Did you want to try and find some variance there, or did you just end up with having to go with all 4 of those dogs?
Well, I'm a believer that the one opportunity to get a lot of these picks like funneled to a few games, and you see these like selection count ratios that, you know, are just off the charts. You end up having dogs that can actually be the better play. So the theory kind of is throughout the year, give yourself the best chance to arrive at Thanksgiving, because I believe 95% of the people didn't even make it to Thanksgiving. So you're saving all these teams for a day that doesn't come. So I'm of the belief that teams change too. Like you could save, you know, some of the Thanksgiving teams early in the year, and maybe they're not the same team when it comes to Thanksgiving. And if they are good and everybody takes them, you're actually a lot of times on the better EV play when you take the dog. So it increases your chance of arriving. And then, you know, this is a 20,000, you know, person winner take all tournament. So it's, you have to take shots, and you have to pick your spots to take the shots.
Okay, so it sounds to me as if this wasn't just like a willy-nilly plan entering the 2025 season. Like, I got an idea, 20,000 or 18,700 people are in this. I'm going to be the person who uses all of the good teams that are going to be playing on holidays, and I'll use the dogs. Like, this is something that sounds to me like this is your idea overall, and how you have played Circa Survivor, hoping for, I call it what you will, hoping for that lottery ticket to come in or to be right with this strategy only once, and now you're going to be cooking as you have 4 left and each ticket's worth $400,000.
Well, of course I didn't think all 4 would win.
Sure.
In the I try to avoid what everybody's doing. Like, I've noticed the patterns of like the contestants. You know, they seem to, like, to give you an example, they seem to love like that mediocre team home against the worst team in the league. You know, it makes sense to them, but it makes sense to everybody else too. Mm-hmm. There's no future value. So you'll see pick percentages as high as 35% on these like 6.5, 7 point favorites. And like, those are the weeks I might pivot and grab a holiday team that's a double-digit favorite with a low pick percentage. You know, so all you're doing is you're just trying to maximize. You know, everybody's like, well, you need a good slate for Thanksgiving. Well, you need a good slate for week 4. You need a good slate for week 8. You know, you have to arrive there in order to get past the holiday. So that's kind of the theory behind it. And I'm okay getting to a holiday and picking a team where everybody's on the other side. And it's not like they're 13-point underdogs that have no shot. I mean, they're 3 to 7 point underdogs, you know, and it's the NFL. Mm-hmm. So it's a good time to roll the dice, in my opinion.
Now, with your 4 entries, you did end up with 2 on the Bears, if I'm correct, and then you went 1 Texans and 1 Bengals as well. So you avoided the Lions and the Packers game. Was there any the Cowboys? That's correct. Yes, the Cowboys. Not there. So you avoided the Lions-Packers game. Was there any method behind the madness there to just leave that one off and play the other 3? And was there a reasoning for having 2 on the Bears?
I used those 2 teams. So, and I thought that game was irrelevant just because no one was going to be on them. So the selection count, the one-sided selection counts were going to be on the other 3 games. So I actually had Baltimore the week before Thanksgiving, and I almost kept them, but I felt the week before San Francisco was playing Carolina. They had probably a 77% win probability, but I thought a third of the pool would be on them. So I wanted to avoid that. And I took Baltimore against the Jets. that, I figured that would be a lower, and actually I was wrong. There was a lot more people on that game than I thought. But I felt they had about a 90% chance to get through. So I really wanted the 4 on Thanksgiving. If I got the 3 on Thanksgiving, it likely would have been 3 on the Bears. But when I got that extra one, the Detroit Green Bay game was going to be irrelevant. So I did decide to give myself about 2/3 of a chance to get at least one through and put them on those 3 teams with the extra one on the Bears.
That's incredible game theory. It's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, John Accorsi, he has 4 entries left in Circa Survivor. He's one of the remaining 44 or 45, I believe is the number overall. Each entry is worth
45.
about $400,000. So there's also, and this goes for any Survivor contest, not just Circa, but it's also like the math game as well. So you must have really liked the Bears because you figured that if you're going to play the percentages here, you knew that around 500 people were going to be on Philadelphia in this game, and such a low number was going to be on Chicago, give or take 20. So you're going to have, give or take, 95% of entries on Philadelphia on this game and maybe 5-6% on the Bears. Yet on paper, the Bears, according to the market, are like 25% to win the game. So that's part of the reason why you wanted to grab it as well?
Well, just exactly. I mean, the percentages get so out of whack that it becomes, and it's like a lot of people don't. It's very hard to roll the dice and take a team that most likely will not win. But knowing just the nature of the contest, and if you just can't play to survive in certain spots. You have to just take that shot. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But, I will always take a team like Chicago in that position with a selection count at 25-1.
Now, John, this is the 4th or 3rd deep run that you've made inside of Circa Survivor. You've got 4 entries. They're worth $400K plus. Are you someone that believes in the hedging theory that now that you've gotten this deep into the contest? Are you looking to monetize these entries from a week-to-week perspective, or are you still willing to kind of push the chips in and let it ride?
Well, you know what? I'm an active sports bettor, and normally I'm not too into the hedging game. But in this particular contest, obviously you don't want to come up with nothing. So I did sell 5% on the Survivor Sweat. And, I'm just going to look at it week to week. I still have 4. So, I don't have to do anything crazy. And you have to be careful with the hedging because you don't know if this thing just goes all the way to the end. And maybe it goes to the end with more people than you originally thought. So you can't get yourself in trouble just betting each week and then digging yourself a little bit of a hole.
Yeah. I love where your head's at. Incredible. Congratulations on making it this far. A lot of football left. We have 4 entries. And hopefully you can get to the finish line, John. Thanks so much for the time today. We appreciate that.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day.
There you go. John Accorsi on the program here in the Progressive Guest Line with 4 entries left. And that's the way he plays it. And, now he's smelling like a rose, Mike. And he can get very creative with 4 entries left at this point.
Yeah, crazy to have literally 10% of the field covered there with the 4. And you mentioned like he strategically wanted to get himself in that position, and the logic behind it is sound.
Yeah,
you are playing a pick that has a very small percentage, and you are hoping that this is the week of chaos when everyone talks about, well, I'm saving the Eagles for Thanksgiving. I'm saving the Ravens for Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Well, what if they lose?
Well, then you're out. There is a brutal schedule spot coming in the NHL. Mike loves betting on hockey. We'll run this by him to see if there's a bet to be made.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Great weekend in football across the board, including the college ranks, as we have a title game weekend beginning tonight with a bunch on the betting board. Of course, the big boys are going to play tomorrow as well. And to talk about it, Drew Butler joins the program, former kicker for the Bulldogs. He's with 92.9 The Game in Atlanta and part of the Punt and Pass podcast as well. And he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Drew, good to talk to you, my man. How you been?
Yeah, been great, Mitch. Thanks for having me back on. Always enjoyed jumping on with you guys. And Mike, it was great to meet you in the break. So happy to be here. Conference championship weekend. Obviously, the SEC championship is right here in Atlanta, and my dogs are playing. So they got to get rid of the boogeyman. They got to play Alabama. I'm excited. I'll be there. We'll see how it shakes out.
So it's a rematch of Georgia's only loss in the regular season, but that goes back a long time now. That was September 27th. And we had fireworks a lot to begin that game, right? It was 24-14 at halftime. After that, Alabama did not score again. So Georgia figured them out in that game anyway. Again, fast forward now, months down the road, is there any takeaway from that second half that Georgia put together?
You know, I think Georgia's defense on the whole, Mitch, has just really improved all season long, especially in the secondary. You're seeing Ellis Robinson, who's a young defensive back, getting challenged a lot more because Dalen Everett is a true lockdown corner. They just don't throw to his side of the field. Robinson had a great interception last week against Georgia Tech. So I would definitely expect Ty Simpson and Alabama to go after number one. And Georgia's been able to figure out ways to affect the quarterback. That was kind of the one knock on this defense early on in the season, is they couldn't get to the quarterback. They weren't getting many sacks. They weren't forcing many turnovers. And just as they've come together throughout the later portions of the year, the defense has pretty much found their identity, and they're going to really have to carry that identity heading into Mercedes-Benz Stadium this weekend, because if you've watched Alabama and some of the inconsistencies that they've had over the last 5-6 weeks of the season, it's when Ty Simpson really doesn't have a lot of time to operate. When Simpson sits back there in the pocket and picks people apart, he is extremely dangerous. So Georgia is going to have to get into the backfield and get Ty Simpson flushed out of the pocket and have him make some decisions. I think that's the one way where Georgia can really improve on what they didn't do in the earlier matchup this season.
Yeah, I want to talk about this Georgia offense as well, because I was pretty concerned watching them play Georgia Tech last week, a defense that gave up 30 to my 7-year-old's flag football team the other week. Why couldn't Georgia move the football against them? Why were they so still on the offensive side? Are they simply just kind of playing possum, or should we be concerned about this Georgia offense?
No, I think playing possum is really not too far off the scent, Mike. I was there at the game. If you were in person, you never really got the sense that Georgia was going to lose that football game. Gunnar Stockton had that early turnover. Then their center, Drew Bobo, got hurt, and they really just took the air out of the ball. I mean, Gunnar Stockton, the quarterback, had 15 carries, and 11 of them were designed runs. I was shocked at how much they were allowing him to get hit in that game, but I think they kind of saw the writing on the wall. Haynes King, they didn't score a touchdown. I mean, Georgia Tech and Haynes King, their offense was on fire most of the season. They didn't even get into the end zone. So I think Georgia's coaching staff as a whole said, hey, defense is playing great. Let's just take the air out of the ball. Let's not turn it over. We'll get out of here with the win. And I think it really needs to be said, in those rivalry games. It's so true. I know it's cliche, but you throw the records out, man. Tech played a really, really tough football game, and Georgia found a way to win it. And look, a win is a win. You're state champs. That's a huge deal in Athens, and you'll take it 16-9. You get out relatively healthy, but now, of course, you get ready for an SEC championship game. Okay, so let's say, and this is probably far-fetched, but your dogs put it on the Crimson Tide this weekend, and it's a blowout, and it's messy, and it's over early and Georgia coasts to a victory. Is there any way, shape, or form that we're talking about an Alabama team that then would eventually miss the playoffs? I really do think that could happen. Now, I'm not so optimistic on Georgia blowing out Alabama. Yeah. However, if that were to happen, I think it's a tough argument to make, especially with that Florida State loss. That is the one that's going to get magnified, no question about it. I think if Georgia were to blow them out, the committee could have the opportunity to go back and say, look, over the last half portion of the season, Alabama wasn't really that consistent. They've got 3 losses. That's going to be the flashing red light on their resume, is that week 1 loss to Florida State. And that is a horrible loss. I mean, that's the worst loss in the top 10 of the college football playoff rankings if you take a look at it right now. And then, of course, you'll have teams with 2 losses just screaming from the mountaintops saying, no, you cannot let us in. And people always say, look, you got to set the precedent of not penalizing teams for playing an extra game in your conference championship. Mitch, I don't want to hear it. Georgia lost in 2023 by 3 points to Alabama in the SEC championship game, and they got knocked all the way back to 6th. They were undefeated in the regular season. They were the back-to-back defending national champs. They lost by 3 points on a neutral site in a conference championship, and they got knocked back to 6. So I don't want to hear it. Of course, there's no consistencies with the committee, but I think if that's the scenario, Mitch, certainly there's an opportunity that Alabama does not make it into the college football playoff.
Yeah, it's comical to me that people forget that Georgia scenario because, like, we've seen them penalize teams for making their championship game, and that but we don't do it. No, you've literally done it before, so there is something
Absolutely.
we can point directly to. All right, you got to pick the game. Yeah, it sounds like you don't like Georgia in a blowout. Are you laying the points with the dogs here? Or do you like to take it with the Bama side?
Listen, I'm a VSiN Pro subscriber, so I'm always checking my emails, seeing what all the pros get down on. And I'm pessimistic about the game. I mean, what could make you feel good about Georgia playing Alabama inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium where they've never beat them? They've never beat them for an SEC championship. However, Kirby Smart in same season rematches is 3-0 in his career at Georgia. So I think that bodes well for the Dogs. I think the Dogs have plenty of motivation. Alabama probably more so because they're playing to keep their playoff hopes alive. But it's a short number. I mean, I'll take Georgia. I'll lay the 2.5. My boy Humans is on Georgia. Mitch, I saw you're on Georgia. Tim Murray's on Georgia as well. So I'm going to close one eye, and I'll take Georgia probably money line.
Yeah, guess what? I think all of us were on the Cowboys last night, too. How'd that go?
Yeah, well, there you go. We'll play the averages there, I guess.
Not so hot overall. I think that you're now the market is up to like 12.5, 13. It's been going back and forth all week in the Big 12 title game. But I want to say you, Drew Butler, are the first person I'm going to hear make a case for the dog. Why do you like BYU?
I just think it's a lot of points. I mean, this is a conference championship game. BYU, now that's a team that's got a lot to play for. Sitting at 11 right now in the college football playoff. Texas Tech is in the college football playoff regardless. Again, it's a same season rematch. I know BYU did not play well in that first game. Texas Tech whooped up on them 29-7 with a lot of field goals too. I mean, that one really could have gotten ugly, but I think it's a lot of points. It's a same season rematch. They're playing to keep their playoff hopes alive. And I think there's some added juice as well with Kalani Sitake staying at BYU as their coach. So I just think hungry dogs run faster. I think it's an inflated line. I'll take 12.5 with BYU or 13, even better.
That's going to be a fun one there in the Big 12. The Big 10, probably the most hyped game. You hate hearing that in SEC country, but the most hyped game of championship weekend here, number 1 versus number 2 in Ohio State and Indiana. I can't figure out this Indiana team for the life of me, simply because I just don't know if they played enough for me to be able to figure them out. What do you make of Indiana, and what do you like in this game?
I mean, I think you could easily make the case that Indiana has a more impressive win this season than Ohio State does. I mean, going out to Oregon and beating Oregon was really impressive. And Fernando Mendoza is a great quarterback. I think, Penn State, no good, but that comeback victory in Happy Valley, that was highly impressive as well. I know Ohio State's defense is for real. They are so legit, but I think Indiana can put some points on the board against them. I'm riding with Ohio State. What's the line? 4.5?
Yep.
Like, I would lay that. The streak that they're on right now, Mitch, is incredible. 16 straight wins, like 14-1-1 against the spread in those 16 games. So I like Ohio State. I like the ticket prices in this matchup too. Did you guys see this? Last year, the same seats were $24. This year, it's $588. So it is just a massive game in Indianapolis, of course, in the home state of the Hoosiers. So going to be a fun one. It's got a lot of juice around it with the 1-2 matchup, but I'll take Ohio State.
All right, well, you're in SEC country here. Let's say this game plays out to a low-scoring affair. Neither quarterback is that great. I think this opens up. I mean, there's an angle here where Diego Pavia wins the Heisman, or am I completely nuts?
Yeah. No, I mean, he was priced at a couple of books that I saw earlier this week, leading the way on the Heisman odds. So I think he is very live, and I think that's the exact scenario that would have to play out, kind of a defensive slugfest where the quarterbacks get stymied, Sayan and Mendoza both. I think Pavia is sitting there 10-2 in the SEC. Incredible stats. I mean, what they did in the second half against Tennessee last weekend, Mitch, that was highly impressive. I think that would be that'd be one for the ages if a Vanderbilt quarterback won the Heisman.
Okay, no kidding. Quickly here, final 30 seconds. Let's hope your BYU Cougars cover the game, but they lose. Then, in theory, Miami and Notre Dame will be next to each other in the rankings. How do you think the committee will finally, what's their ultimate decision here between those two teams?
I mean, the committee will have so much egg on their face if they somehow, some way keep Notre Dame ranked in front of Miami in that scenario. By almost every metric, Miami is a better football team than Notre Dame. And the most important metric, which is on the principles of their website of how the committee ranks teams, is head-to-head matchups. I don't care when they played. Miami beat Notre Dame. They should be in the college football playoff over Notre Dame in that scenario.
Great spot as always, my man. Follow him on X. He is at Drew Butler, part of the Punt and Pass podcast, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. Enjoy the games. Best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
An angle here I have to run by Mike on the Chiefs-Texans game Sunday night, coming up next here on VSiN.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Thanks for checking in today. Football Friday here on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss along with Mike Somich in for Paulie Howard today. A lot to get into in this hour. We'll get our best bets in about 45 minutes. Mike also has a bunch of bets on conference title weekend starting tonight in college football, and we'll talk much more about that right now as Julian Edlow joins the program with DraftKings, a longtime friend of the show, in town for, I'm going to guess, the rodeo, or am I wrong?
Oh, yeah. Big rodeo guy.
I figure,
Conference championship games, I guess. You know, I'm running the college content over at DraftKings Network, the college football, the college basketball. And I heard there's some college football games this weekend, so I'm in town.
Yeah, and by the way, they're starting in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Then, so here you go. Do you have anything in the Kennesaw game? This would be an unbelievable story. Opened up at like 100-1 to win this conference.
Yeah. I have no feel for the side. I would lean towards the move to Kennesaw. I think the money on the over is the right side. If I bet it, it would be a small bet on the over, but these aren't teams that I've been tracking too much this season.
Yeah, I'm part of the Kennesaw move there. I played him at 2.5 and played him again at 3. There was a Hail Mary at the end of the first half in the Jack State-Kennesaw game, and the Jack State won the turnover battle 4-0, yet it was still a game at the end of it. I think Kennesaw the right side. If you get the 2.5, go out and get it now, because I don't think that is going to last very long. A game that's happening close by you there, well, I guess not close by because it's up in Boise State, but you got UNLV and Boise State, a rematch here, and Boise State's been the hot side all the way out to 6 in this spot. Did you look at the Mountain West title game at all?
Oh, God, it's out to 6. These are the things you miss when you Uber over here to get on Follow the Money. It's out to 6. Wow.
It's out to 6.
I am a Boise preseason bettor. I bet them preseason minus 120, minus 130, minus 140. Thought Boise was the best team. They come out, they lose the first game. 2 weeks ago on DraftKings Sportsbook, they were plus 850 to win the Mountain West. 2 weeks ago. Here they are, 6-point favorites in the game on the Smurf turf. It's crazy. I am just riding my Boise tickets, which, by the way, I know we opened them as a short underdog, and that immediately moved, and correctly so. I'm not buying off. I'm just riding all Boise. I've been saying all week, lay the 3, the 3.5, the 4. We're out to 6. If you're watching this right before kick, I think you're probably late to the party.
Now it's a little bit too high to get involved in. Mike, by the way, did you know that? Yeah, Julian's spot on with that. Obviously, he works at DraftKings. DK opened up UNLV a 1.5 point favorite in this game.
That's crazy. I didn't see this game anything sub. I think Boise State 3 was the best number I saw, and so I must have missed the early market there and it must have happened fast.
So
like that must have been a lot of Boise money quickly.
It came out quickly that Madsen was going to play, right? And that was part of the move. But the initial move, they opened dogs, and that moved quickly before we knew anything about Madsen, and that was just people saying Boise does not deserve to be a home dog, which I totally agree with, no matter who's playing center, who's playing quarterback.
Yeah, there's also this, though, right, guys? I mean, the first time they played this year, again, that was in Boise.
They scored 56, 59 points?
The Broncos closed 13, and they won 56-31. So maybe 6 is not enough.
That's like the total tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody I talk to that I respect is like, I have Boise, closer to what the number was when they just played this game. I have it 10, I have it 12, I have it 13, and I'm like, oh, this is when they were back at like 3. I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm not going to add more. I bet a couple of units on Boise preseason. We'll let it go, but I do really like them at home, and it's going to be like weathery. UNLV just can't get over the hump there. I know it's just like piling up money on the Boise side at this point, but I think they're going to win the game.
Mike, fishy to you at
Now,
all?
the other key game.
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
I was going to say, fishy to you at all? That close 13 and open up where it is and still at 6?
No, well,
Close
no,
13 and
I think that
open
we've
plus
seen
1.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have seen so much Boise money come in that to me, this line is around where I thought it actually should kick off at. Like, I expected you're going to see just shy of a touchdown because UNLV has gotten better on the offensive side since that last matchup against Boise. The defense still stinks out loud. So I expect Boise can move the football. But to me, right around a touchdown was where I expected this game to be. And so when you saw 3.5, I thought that was a little kooky. But now here at 6, I think it makes a little bit more sense. Other big game tonight here in the American Conference, North Texas taking on Tulane. All eyes going to be on this one. And all the money coming in on Tulane, not North Texas here. North Texas was as high as a 3-point favorite. We've seen that down to a point and a half now in most spots. What was the action like here in the North Texas Tulane game?
Yeah, I mean, splits-wise, initially, this was a lot of North Texas and a lot of over. And now here we are. The total has been bet up. I think we opened like 62 and a half at DraftKings, and we're up about 5 points. And I agree with that. We're going to see points. There was initially a lot of North Texas money, and now here we are. The game's getting approaching a pick. I understand the Tulane money, but North Texas scores points, man. Like, they score. So I feel like if you're going to bet North Texas at this point, you bet like a team total and just bet them to score. Because if they win the game, they're going to score, right? There's no way that they win this game without just scoring a bunch of points. I think it's 34.5.
Like, this game's almost like the NFL game last night. Was it really going to play out to where it was 20-17? I mean, it could, but in all likelihood, I think the market is right with this total.
This might be one of those ones where you look at it and you're like, I'm 5 points late, and I still bet it. Because last night, 53, closes 55, and we're in the 70s, right? So I would be pretty surprised if we don't see a lot of points in this game. I feel much more confident about betting like either team that you like on the team total than just betting them to win the game in this one.
Okay, what is your best bet either tonight or tomorrow in college football?
I like Boise a lot tonight, but we haven't gotten to tomorrow, so I'm big on Georgia tomorrow.
Okay.
And it's just like a real Georgia spot. They lose at home, but shut Alabama out in the second half. I feel like Kirby Smart is the type of coach that can take that momentum. It's momentum from the last Saturday in September. Take that momentum and bring it into this game. Use whatever they did to shut down Alabama in the second half and bring it to this game. And then there's just little things you can sprinkle on top of it. Revenge for losing at home. Revenge for all the times that Kirby Smart has lost to Alabama. Georgia played in this building, sleepwalking past Georgia Tech last week. Alabama had to go just balls to the wall at Auburn to squeak that win out. You go from a huge rivalry game and turn around and come back to this. I think Georgia's the better team. I think they have the better. Their defense has at least improved since that first matchup. There's every way that I look at this, I'm just finding different ways that I like Georgia.
Now, we've got an interesting spot here with BYU taking on Texas Tech in the Big 12 title game. And we've had, maybe one person in the last week since this got announced that actually likes the BYU side. Do you want to be the second to try and make a case for the Cougars here?
I would like to be that guy. I can't be that guy. Texas Tech is really good, man. I have gone against BYU plenty of times this year. The Arizona game, the Iowa State game. I thought Iowa State was one of the best spots of the season. They had lost 2 road games in a row, come off a bye, and then they host BYU after BYU's coming off beating Utah, and then what else was it? The Arizona game too, and then they have to go on the road. I thought that was one of the best parts of the season, and they dominate first half, and then here comes BYU. They do it again. BYU's been awesome. They're getting a lot of points. I understand. I mean, you see there, both teams against the spread, 9-3 and 10-2 against the spread. These teams have been covering machines. It's a lot of points for this type of game, and you're getting it with an 11-win team. Texas Tech, the first time around, they did not allow them to score.
Yep.
They
settled for field goals. I mean,
yeah, that was domination, and they're playing to get the bye. I understand BYU's playing for a playoff spot, but Texas Tech is playing for the bye. I think Texas Tech can run this up. I'm not laying it. I haven't bet this game, but I'm not taking the points with BYU either. Okay,
so you're a big NBA guy as well, and we're going to get to the NFL and some awards coming up in about 5 minutes here with Julian Edlow. He's in studio with us on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. He's with DraftKings. Last night, LeBron James held under 10 points for the first time in 1,297 games.
Unreal.
The last time it happened, The Sopranos was still on the air. Mm-hmm. There was no iPhone. Aaron Rodgers had 0 touchdown passes in the NFL. Cooper Flagg was just born. He has more final appearances than single-digit scoring games in his career. The Lakers are in Boston tonight, and without him playing in this game now, the Celtics are laying 8.5 tonight.
Yeah, this is disappointing. Friday night, Lakers Celtics in Boston. I'm a ticket holder. I sold these ones early, Mitch. I got my money for these ones early.
All right.
I'm very happy that I did that because this is now the Austin Reeves show.
Probably.
It's. I mean, yeah. That's too bad. They set themselves up for this though. They put this game on Amazon, and you have the Lakers playing in Toronto last night, the Celtics playing in DC last night. Why are you doing that before a Friday night Celtics Lakers game? I don't understand that. But yeah, from a prop standpoint. Also, by the way, I saw somebody bet $15K on LeBron 10+ points on DraftKings last night.
Oh boy!
To try and get $500.
Is that right?
Didn't work. I would assume this person has done this before.
I was going to say, have they done it like over and over and over again?
I don't know the customer. I just saw it on Twitter. That's a bet that people have been just banking on for literally years. That was 2007. I was a freshman in college. The last time LeBron James scored less than 10 points in an NBA game. I'm now married with 2 kids.
Wow.
Like
life flies by, man.
It doesn't fly by. It's been ages.
Wow.
It's been forever. And so now, you lose a little bit of the luster here. I would be surprised if the Celtics lose this game. I don't have a bet in it, though, because it's not as good of a game anymore,
but
right?
How many times in the NBA, right, we're talking about star players missing, and they come out at Reeves. Watch
the Lakers
Reeves go
came
for 50
to Boston
tonight.
and did this 2 years ago and won the game without LeBron.
We'll continue with Julian Edlow. Bets this weekend in the NFL, and opinions on NFL awards. We're getting messages throughout the show. Is this guy still possible that he can win the Offensive Player of the Year? I'll run it by you guys coming up next.